Now, thanks to 90 Mile Wines and Anytime Fitness Glenelg, it's Chewing the Fat with Bevan Jones.
Well, g'day and welcome to another edition of Chewing the Fat. Bevo here, joined by a man who's doing great things with the V8 Supercars this year from Mustangs Racing. It's Todd Hazelwood. Toddy, great to have you on Chewing the Fat again,
Likewise, mate. Great to be back and fantastic to be back here in Adelaide.
Yeah, it's obviously we've got the Bend happening this weekend, which is super exciting. Talk to us about what's happening there and also the difference between the Bend and the street circuit.
Yeah, exactly. Two very different styles of events. Obviously, we go from Adelaide being a street circuit in the heart of the city. Very tough, being the first round of the year. We're now, halfway through the season. Lots changed since then, but yeah, now going to a purpose-built circuit. It's actually the second largest circuit in the world. It's a world-class facility, and to have this here in South Australia is really impressive. And it's the second time running. It was a brand new track for us last year. The track is cured a little bit more rubber's gone down, so we're expecting the lap times to be 2 to 3 seconds faster. So it's going to be an action-packed weekend.
And you mentioned before the season so far, so we're halfway through. How's it going for you? And we spoke a little bit off there that you were getting very close to having a PB, but it didn't quite happen the last couple of weeks. What's been going on?
It's all really come together for us. We've been showing some really great signs of speed. We've been really fast in qualifying or practice. We've been sneaking up inside the top 5 at some occasions, and I suppose for a single car team like ourselves at Mustangs Racing, we're not really expected to be up fighting all the factory teams and whatnot, so it's been great to create a bit of an upset. We haven't quite been able to emulate our best season result yet in the last couple of rounds where we really thought that we would be able to. We were comfortably running 5th at Townsville, and we had a flat tyre, we had a puncher throughout the race, and then the last recent round we were comfortably running 7th, and we had a left front damper failure. So I feel like we've had a little bit of bad luck, so hopefully we can get that out of the way. And obviously going back to the Bend, a home round for me, being a proud South Aussie, so hopefully we can get back up towards that pointy end and have a great result.
Especially in front of all your friends and family as well, wouldn't that just be awesome? So,
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And this year we've seen the dominance of the Mustangs. What do you think the Commodores need to do to sort of get right up to where the Mustangs are at that level at the moment?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. I think obviously all the Holden teams have been scratching their heads trying to work out how do we get past these guys, and I think the last couple of rounds have started to show that we can definitely take it to them. I've been out to qualify Fabian Coulthard a couple of times, but obviously the biggest thing with Scott McLaughlin, that DJR Team Penske Falcon, Mustang, sorry, is he's been able to go from strength to strength, and any time you see that in any sport, I think when you get so much confidence on your side, it's almost impossible to do anything wrong when you're kind of at his level. So I think he's in a league of his own from a driver point of view. Obviously the cars are very quick. Obviously there's been a lot of speculation about how the car was regulated and a few other things. So I don't try to get involved too much in the politics of it all. I let the people above me do that. But yeah, I think from our point of view, we just got to keep doing a better job. We've got to get more consistency out of the car and the setup of the car, and I feel like the last couple of rounds we've started to achieve that, so hopefully that will start to keep us moving forward and essentially hopefully get in front of those Mustangs.
And to talk us through how it works with the teams and stuff, it's a very interesting thing that someone raised to me during the week actually. How does it work with the V8 Supercars? Like, do you actually have an interview in terms of with your team, the Commodore team, or how did you end up being a part of the Commodore team? How does it work?
Yeah, it's a very unique sort of opportunity for myself. I've been part of Mustangs Racing now for 6 years, so I started my Dunlop Super 2 career back in 2014, and obviously my second year now as a full-time supercar driver, and we've grown together over the years. So I actually started racing Fords when I first drove for the team, and it all kind of come about opportunity, driving with a 888 equipment. and then obviously with Triple Eight being now supported by Holden, that's how the Holden support started coming around for us. So it was all essentially by opportunity. Obviously, manufacturer support isn't as great as what it used to be back in the heydays of I suppose, supercar racing, but we're still very fortunate to have some great support from Holden Australia, who have been looking after us fantastically this year.
And is there a fair bit of admiration for some of the other drivers, like from the other teams? We've seen the last few years Shane Van Gisbergen and Scotty McLaughlin going really well. So do you admire those guys, or any other drivers that you really admire and look up to as well?
Oh, definitely. For me personally, as an athlete and as a sports person, I suppose you're always looking up to people that are successful in any types of field, whether it be tennis or cricket or anything like that. So I always try and understand, okay, how are they so good? What are they doing different to me? And like any sport, it is relatively simple. You got to look at every element of what they're doing and just try and raise the bar. If they're doing something up to this level, you got to try and outdo them. So always doing a lot of study behind the scenes, particularly the drivers that are obviously successful, whether it be how they're driving the car, what they're doing outside of the car, who are they working with, what sort of management have they got helping them, all those sort of elements that you're trying to understand. Especially for me, being one of the younger guys, I'm only new to the sport, but I've got a lot to learn, and I want to try and learn as fast as I can. So a lot of homework to try and hopefully beat those guys in the near future. And
with the AFL, they love their practical jokes. So the boys get around a few practical jokes in the V8 Supercars as well, or?
Oh, there's a little bit of cheeky sledging going on, especially for me being a young guy. I think they see me as a bit of an easy target, but I try to hang low and not get involved in that sort of stuff. I try and let do my talking on the track. So try not to get too much involved. Obviously, it's a bit different to football, where if you have something go wrong, you can't just yell at the guy because they definitely can't hear you. I think there's a good level of respect between the drivers up and down pit lane. Obviously, there's only 24 drivers of us, so it's essentially 1 in a million opportunity to be driving in a supercar in the pinnacle of Australian motorsport. So it's a very unique opportunity. So I think everyone has that great level of respect. Obviously, there's a lot of rivalries up and down pit lane, and some people may not like each other or whatever, but for me personally, I just try to get along with everyone and let my talking do on track.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it, I think. And there's been a lot of talk about the national anthem not happening anymore, Todd. What's your sort of take on that as well?
I think probably the biggest issue is just trying to fit in with TV. That's probably the one element that some people haven't spoke about, is that we have very tight restrictions, obviously. With a race, if things go wrong, sometimes a race can go longer than what would normally be expected. If there's a safety car, if it rains, the lap times become longer and longer. So at some events we've had to cut the national anthem out purely for that reason. We just don't have enough time on the grid by the time we have the TV rolling and everything else. So there's a lot of elements. Obviously, still at the key events that we go to, or what we call our marquee events, we still always make sure that we have the national anthem playing. But obviously, it's a proud thing. I'm a proud Aussie. Well, I think we're all proud Aussies, and any time you hear the national anthem playing, it's a special moment. So it'd be great to see more of it.
Yeah, I think you've answered that really well. That's a good point, because I've always wondered what that issue is, but you've made that really good point there.
Yeah.
And in terms of the rule changes, there's been a lot of rule changes in the last few years. How are you coping with those?
Yeah, just I suppose not trying to get too emotionally involved in it all. I suppose the best thing about it is the teams that are I suppose the factory teams, they're the ones doing the hard work and R&D and fighting with supercars, understanding what needs to be changed and what they should do. Whereas for me as a driver, I try not to get too much involved, because at the end of the day I can't really do too much about it. So I just get in the car and try and do the best job I can, and hopefully it's good enough. But yeah, obviously this year in particular they've introduced a new centre of gravity rule, COG as they call it. So essentially just trying to keep the cars at a level playing field. Obviously there's been a few differences in the way the cars have been built over the last couple of seasons. When they introduced the new ZB Commodore, there's a lot of composite panels being used to replicate it, whereas normally they would always be steel pressed from the manufacturer, say whether it be Ford or Holden or Nissan. So that's been a bit of a change. And then obviously with the Mustang coming in, essentially the whole car is composite. So the cars all of a sudden become lighter and lighter and lighter. And obviously that becomes an advantage to a point where, we need to implement a new rule, because once upon a time the teams would struggle to get to that 1400 kilo weight limit, whereas now with the new composites, all the panels being composite now is considerable weight loss. So now all of a sudden teams started having 40 kilos of ballast, 60 kilos of ballast, or plus even more than that. So it started actually becoming a bit of a safety issue. Why should we have all this weight being mounted on the car? So now they've actually implemented some new rule changes, with that being weight, and where the weight is actually, if you have got leftover weight, you then have to have it up high, because each car's got to have a centre of gravity rule where it's all got to be essentially levelled out, so it's a level playing field across all 3 models.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it's quite complicated to explain, but it's a great thing for the sport.
No, you've answered it very well. Well, shout out to Amy from Matt Stone Racing for organising today's interview with Todd, and to Jason, and also to Chad for giving us a bit of inside information on some things about Todd to help out with today's interview. And of course, the man himself, Todd Hazelwood. Thanks so much for tuning in with me, mate. It's been an absolute blast, and all the very best with the event this weekend.
Pleasure. Thanks for being on the show. It's always good to be here, and look forward to catching up next time.
Likewise. Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers. Thank you.